Folks, after a long week of VBS, it has been a fantastic thing to see what God has done through each of us as volunteers and each of the kids who attended this year. And so today's message reflects just two of those themes out of the five that we covered, those that you heard spoken about and shown through the kids and their videos. God's power to heal and God's power to forgive. Now, obviously, it doesn't take someone with a doctorate to understand that there are things that need healed in our world. All of us know family and friends that hurt, whether it's from an illness, from allergies, because they're nice and out there right now, and many other things. And so our first lesson was the story of a foreign commander, Naaman. He had a skin disease, leprosy. Now, we typically hear about leprosy more so in the New Testament, as Jesus goes about in ministry and encounters lepers. But Naaman's leprosy is a bit different. It is not the leprosy we hear about in Jesus' time, where you would be an outcast because you were contagious. And by coming into contact with one of these people, you indeed probably wouldn't last very long. You would acquire their skin disorder and pass away. Given that Naaman is a commander of an army and would likely be fighting side by side with his men, it's likely that he does not have the contagious form of the disease, but still has to bear that stigma, that you are deformed in some way, a visible way that people can see, and so there is that distance that people carry around you. And so Naaman, however, is still highly favored with his king, a great leader of his army, and as such, has the ear of his king. And so when his wife's servant speaks about someone powerful, of a God who is able to heal, they decide to tell the king, and the king sends a letter of introduction with his commander to the king of Israel to say, "Go and be healed with my blessing." And so Naaman goes, but the king can't do anything. The king knows better. In fact, he laments, saying, "Am I God? How can I heal you, much less of your leprosy?" And so he tears his robe. And we heard that part of the story picked up in our video. Because the prophet Elijah says, "King, why in the world have you torn your clothing? Bring that man to me, that he may know that there is a God in Israel." And so Naaman goes to be healed. Now, what Naaman experiences from being washed in the Jordan is probably what all of us think when we talk about healing. We think of physical healing. It's often the most popular form of healing that we encounter. We go to hospitals and encounter doctors and nurses and EMTs that are skilled in healing the body. They have studied for years upon years and practiced over and over again that they may heal all the symptoms and disorders that we have encountered. But there are many other forms of illness. And we talked about that with the kids and made various lists to talk about some of the heartache that comes through being a human being on the earth. So those invisible wounds as well. So sadness, bullying, the effects of violence upon us, the sadness of losing one's pets or a loved one. All of these things that don't show outward signs like a cut does or a sore, but still need healing nonetheless. But God indeed has the power to heal. They're attentive today, folks. And so we saw in Naaman this ability. But Naaman wasn't exactly interested at the onset, because from his hearing, he hears, "Wait a second. You want me to go wash myself in the Jordan River?" For he knows there are mightier rivers than the Jordan. In his homeland, there are certainly more. And so to him, his comparison is, it's like washing myself in a small little stream or trickle of water in comparison. He's not interested. But his fellow soldiers that he's been traveling with on this journey remind him that if you were given a task, Naaman, that was mighty, you would have done it without question. So why do you kind of sniff at this fact that it's a simple task? Why? Why will you not do it? Believe and have faith in this, and do what Elijah has said. And indeed, upon doing so, he is cleansed of his leprosy. Upon washing himself 7 times, his former skin disorder is gone. There's no trace of it. And Naaman decides to follow the one true God as a result. He tries to reward Elijah with the gold and silver his king had sent with him. The comparative, it was millions and millions of dollars. And Elisha would have been a very rich man for taking it. But he wasn't God's servant to get rich. He was serving on behalf of God because that is what God had called him to do. And so he showed that power and would take nothing in return. The only thing that Naaman asked then as a result is to be able to take some dirt back to his homeland. Now you say, dirt? What in the world? This isn't Pirates of the Caribbean. This isn't Captain Jack Sparrow. He does not need dirt to feel safe. But instead, Naaman wants to take this back, to be able to worship God on the same land, the same soil, the same earth that he encountered him, that he may make an altar appropriate for God and continue his worship and devotion of the one true God who had the power to heal. There we go. Folks, it is the same for us, that we encounter times where we need healing. Again, whether it be something physical, whether it's a broken arm, a cut, or a sore, or whether it's those invisible things which hurt just as much, of grief, of sadness, of abuse. But God does indeed have that power. He can heal us of any ailment. That is who we serve. Now, you've heard me say it over and over again in this place. You know I'm not interested in the prosperity gospel promise. I'm not about up here to lie to you to say the moment you pray and have faith, you're about to be healed. Does God have that power? Absolutely. But this isn't a transaction. God does not owe us something for simply saying, oh yeah, God, I forgot to consult you. I consulted the doctor. I consulted the specialist and the chiropractor and the nurse. Oh, maybe I should pray. Instead, we are reminded that God indeed does have this power, and he does indeed heal. And so, my friends, we can celebrate that fact. We have the testimony of so many from the Bible, from our own lives, in our families. And we know God can heal the physical and the invisible alike, because he is God and he is powerful. But that was just one of God's mighty powers that we learned about this week. Ultimately, as Christians, we take the name of Christ because we follow him. And so the cross, both there and there, shows us a sign not of defeat, not of weakness, not as a reminder to feel guilty for what was done for us, but instead as a reminder of the forgiveness God has extended to every human being on the earth that calls upon his name. And so we learn that God had the power to forgive. And indeed, that power is something to be astonished about. We learned through the story of Peter, one of Jesus' most talkative, adamant disciples. Maybe some of us can relate to Peter. Maybe some of us from time to time put our foot in our mouth. Maybe both at times. But indeed, Peter was eager to say to his Lord, I will never leave you. I will never betray you. I'm going nowhere, even unto death. And Jesus, not putting him down, but just knowing Peter in his heart, said, no, you won't. Indeed, but even Peter, upon betraying Jesus, even saying, I don't know you, right in front of where he was arrested and being tried, Jesus still was able to forgive him. And so one of the great things we can see in the cross, not a symbol of execution, not a symbol of defeat or of the loss of life, but as a reminder that Christ went there deliberately. He didn't get forced there. He had all power in heaven and on earth, but chose to go there for us. Because that's humanity's one big shortcoming. We never would have the power to receive the forgiveness we truly needed. Because we're imperfect. We all do mess up. I'll goof up here in worship and say wrong words all the time, and we can laugh about it. We all stumble in our day-to-day living. But yet, God does indeed have the power to forgive us. Hey, thank you, Donna. And so, my friends, it is a great thing to be mindful of that. It's the great message we carry to everyone we encounter. We are Christians because we have a message of forgiveness and of reconciliation. That it's not over. That we haven't messed up indefinitely. We haven't done something that makes God forget about us. We haven't done something that makes God not love us. And you've heard me say this over and over again. The only one that disqualifies you from God's love is you. God didn't say it. It's only us. And so whatever you want to call it, evil, the devil, wins a great victory when we convince ourselves and fully believe that we're somehow beyond God's love and beyond God's forgiveness. It's ours to claim and take hold of. It's that free gift extended to each and every one of us, because we can't earn it. It's all been given, and it's been paid in full. And so, my friends, as we continue to live as Christians, I invite us to hold up God's mighty power before us at all times. The power to heal, the power to forgive, and so much more. As you continue to encounter God's mighty power, hold on to it. Claim it each and every moment, when you need it and when you're in good times and celebrating and rejoicing. Because that power has been given to you. And that power is something that you can tell others. It's attractive and it is mighty. And that's why it's there. Not for us to hold on to and keep to ourselves, but to share, because there's enough to go around and then some. And so St. Paul and all our dear friends continue to hold on to God's mighty power. His power to heal, His power to forgive, His power to love, His power to provide, and His power to comfort. Thanks be to God. Amen. Amen.